Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're heading to a place I bet a lot of you have never even thought about visiting.
Are we talking about Albania?
You got it, Albania. Now, I gotta admit, before I started researching for this deep dive, Albania was just kind of a blank spot on my mental map of Europe. But let me tell you, the more I've been digging into the sources we've got, the more I'm realizing what an incredibly fascinating and unique country it is. Like seriously, hidden gem vibes, for sure.
Absolutely. And one of the things that makes Albania so unique is its history, especially the period under Enver Hoxha's communist regime. I mean, talk about isolation. They took it to a whole other level.
Right. Almost 50 years of like hardcore isolation. Not even like other communist countries at the time. What was that like for the people living there?
Well, imagine a society completely cut off from the rest of the world. Limited contacts, limited information, a very strict and controlled environment. And that had a lasting impact on everything, from their culture to their outlook on the world.
Yeah, it definitely shaped their worldview in a way that's very different from a lot of other European countries. And then there's the whole thing with the bunkers. Hundreds of thousands of concrete bunkers just scattered across the country. Beaches, mountains, everywhere.
Over 173,000 to be exact. These bunkers, I mean, can you imagine just walking along and suddenly there's this like concrete dome sticking out of the ground? It's a stark reminder of their past.
Yeah, and you would think that they would want to just, get rid of them, but they're actually starting to like incorporate them into the landscape, turning them into museums, cafes, even art installations.
Exactly. It's a way of remembering and acknowledging that part of their history without letting it overshadow their present. It's a really unique approach, I think.
Definitely. Now let's talk about something a bit lighter. Did you know that in Albania, they do the head nod thing backwards? Like a nod means no and a shake means yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's one of the first things you learn about Albanian culture. Imagine the confusion though, right? Trying to have a conversation with someone when your head gestures mean the opposite.
I know, right? Can you imagine the misunderstandings? Talk about a recipe for some awkward moments, for sure.
Yeah, it definitely makes for some good stories though.
For sure. Okay, but beyond the head nods, the language itself, the Albanian language, is in a whole category of its own, completely unrelated to any of its neighbors.
Right, like its own little branch on the Indo-European language tree. It's got this super intricate grammar that's just like completely different from anything else in Europe.
And the name they use for themselves, Shqipëria, which means land of the eagles. So evocative, right?
It's beautiful, yeah. And very fitting when you consider their flag with that double-headed eagle, a symbol of national pride and strength. And that ties into another really important aspect of Albanian culture, Besa.
Besa? What's that?
Besa is like their ancient code of honor. It's all about loyalty, hospitality, keeping your promises no matter what. It's deeply ingrained in their culture, and it's shaped a lot of their history, like during World War II.
World War II, how so?
Well, while much of Europe was turning their backs on Jewish refugees, the Albanians, guided by Besa, risked their own lives to protect them, offered them shelter, hid them in their homes. A really incredible story of courage and compassion.
Wow, yeah. It's amazing to see that Besa is not just some ancient relic. It's still a living, breathing part of their culture today. You see it in the way they treat their guests, that famous Albanian hospitality.
Right, it's something you feel everywhere you go in Albania. Especially in their coffee culture, they take their coffee seriously. It's like a social ritual, a way of life almost. People spend hours in cafes, connecting, sharing stories, building community.
That sounds amazing, actually. Like their version of a pub, but with, amazing coffee. Now, beyond the people and culture, we have to talk about the natural beauty of this place, right? I mean, the Albanian Riviera, wow. Like seriously, move over. Italy and Greece, there's a new contender for the most beautiful coastline.
Seriously, it's just stunning. Crystal clear turquoise water, pristine beaches, all without the crazy crowds you find in those more touristy places.
Right, like you can actually find a quiet spot on a beach in Albania, imagine that.
You can. Places like Samil with its white sand beaches and little islands, or Durmi, nestled between the mountains and the sea. It's really breathtaking.
Definitely adding those to my travel list. And for those who are more into history and like ancient stuff, Albania's got that covered too, right? I mean, they've got mountains, rivers, ancient ruins, all that good stuff.
Yeah, they've got it all. The interior is like stepping back in time. And if you're a history buff, you absolutely have to check out Butrint.
Butrint? What's that?
It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Older than Rome itself, you can see layers of history there, from the Greeks to the Romans, Byzantines, Venetians. It's mind-blowing.
Oh, wow. Okay, so like ancient ruins galore. And then, of course, you've got Tirana, the capital city. What's it like?
It's a city that's constantly changing and evolving. It's got this really interesting mix of architectural styles, Ottoman, Italian, and of course the communist era buildings with all the concrete. But it's also got this vibrant energy, lots of color, a really cool blend of old and new. It's definitely worth a visit.
So, after diving into all this, the picture that emerges is of a country that is full of surprises. Like a place that's been shaped by a difficult past, but is really coming into its own now. And it's got something for everyone: beautiful beaches, stunning mountains, ancient history, a unique culture, and people who are known for their warmth and hospitality.
It's a destination that's off the beaten path, for sure. But that's part of what makes it so special. It's a chance to experience something different, something authentic.
So as we wrap this up, picture yourself in a bustling Tirana market. All these vibrant colors, sounds of a language you don't understand. You're sipping strong Albanian coffee, trying to figure out the head nods, surrounded by the warmth and hospitality of the locals. Could this be your next travel destination?
It just might be.
That's it for this deep dive. Until next time.